You want it louder? You don't like the, I don't like the sound of it. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. A beautiful morning. My name is Liz Moffitt. And this morning, by way of opening for our service, which is entitled Replenishment in Retreat, talking about women in retreat, women's retreats, and being in retreat. These words are written by Kathryn, and it's actually number 435 in our hymnal. So here are our opening words for this morning. We come together this morning to remind one another to rest for a moment on the forming edge of our lives, to resist the headlong tumble into the next moment, until we claim for ourselves awareness and gratitude. Taking the time to look into one another's faces and see their communion, the reflection in our own eyes. This house of laughter and silence, memory and hope, is hallowed by our presence together.
Good morning and welcome to our North Shore Unitarian community. We're especially glad to see any guests or newcomers this morning, and we invite you to join us downstairs for coffee and conversation after the service, and there might even be soup. Am I right this morning? Oh, this is wonderful. Soup and lunch as well. And this will give us the opportunity to get to know you all better. Now, every Unitarian service is different. Today, our interim minister is away, so the mice are going to play here. Our Director of Religious Education, Lynn Savarin, is at the BC Fall Gathering in Nanaimo. And the men's retreat is this weekend, so if you'll notice there are fewer men this morning. We don't know what they're doing. In fact, I wasn't even told where they are. So, so it's quite a secret. Yeah. So this morning, we have the privilege and the joy of having Liz Moffitt and Kathryn Nicholson lead us through our service. And as Liz mentioned, we're going to hear about Replenishment in Retreat, which is about our experiences at the women's retreat. And I'm really looking forward to hearing that.
This morning, we lighted a candle of global concern for all the women in the world who have a very difficult time being women and all that is involved with that. And we, as Leslie lights the candle, we ask that we send light to women in the world and also to the men that are around them, that they may be empowered and informed by the light.
Thank you, Liz. Now, I'd like to call Kathryn, please, to come up, and Liz here as Liz changes hats. These two extraordinary women have been with our church for many, many years. For those of you who don't know, and I don't expect there are many in the room, Kathryn Nicholson and Liz Moffitt. They've given generously to this church over many years. They've given their music and their loving selves very willingly. And this morning, they're going to take us through our service.
Dancing. We're already dancing up here. Well, our theme this morning, as we know, Replenishment in Retreat, is about the women's retreats that have been happening in our church for the last couple of years. A regeneration. They happened yearly for a long time, didn't they? And then we began again 2 years ago. And of course, as Leslie has said, on this particular weekend, when the men are in retreat, it's Sassamat Lake.
Oh,
That's great. So we find that it helps for us humans to get away from it all, go on holiday or go to retreat, to have some time for reflection and to replenish and nourish ourselves, to have access to the inner resources that we have, to be able to heighten them, to help them grow within us so that when we need them for the hard times in life, that they're there for us. So we find that this is really important, and it sure helps to be in a beautiful place, to be able to share ourselves, to be in community with others, to be pampered a little bit, to have good food that's provided, that we're not having to cook up, maybe have some foot massages, beautiful music, laughter, sleep. Lots of people just come and sleep. Being quiet, maybe time for contemplation, to go off by ourselves in nature, go for walks. All these provide these internal resources that are really, really important for all of us, so that we hopefully can feel replenished and able to return from retreating to our day-to-day lives, feeling refreshed and renewed.
Liz and I decided when we had a lot of requests from people to start up again the women's retreats. So 2 years ago we decided we'd try to do that, and we asked people what they wanted, and it was much of what Liz has just described. One of the things that they were interested in was, do I have to share a room? Mostly because I snore or somebody else snores, and so we had to draw straws for rooms. But it all worked out. And I think that as we were doing this, we wanted to have some kind of a theme that we developed beforehand, so we had a focus for what we were doing, but we didn't want it to be too structured. So for the first one over in Nanaimo at the Bethlehem Retreat Centre, we asked the women who were coming to bring an object or a photograph or a poem or something that bespoke the depth, some aspect of depth of meaning in their life, or some memory or something important to them. And then as we were going around the circle and folks were sharing that, the kind of feeling of community and deeper understanding of one another was really quite moving, absolutely, to me. And then for the second retreat, we thought, okay, well, we need something a little bit different to start off with. So we went and had coffee and had some discussion about what we could do, and we asked folks to bring a piece of music, a song, perhaps, with lyrics that had meaning for you, or a piece of music with no words, whatever it was. We asked everyone who was coming, and there were about 25 women here. And again, it was a lovely, rich sharing on that first morning of music that meant something to people, that carried a memory or a meaning. And so every single piece of music that we've included in the service this morning is a piece of music that was brought by a participant in our gathering together. So, and when we were asked to do this service, I thought, well, rather than Liz and I talking too much, we'd just do the introduction to it, and then we'd ask some of the women who actually participated to speak. So all of the speakers this morning are women who came to one or two of these retreats. And it's not so much a panel as just folks reflecting on what that experience was for them. And we've certainly been encouraged to do it again, so we do have a weekend booked in February for another women's retreat.
So, attending the women's retreat. excuse me. What's the purpose of a retreat? You get away for the weekend. That's nice. You go with women. That can be nice. You do arts and crafts. Okay. You gather for discussion. You do a lot of listening. Okay. You stay up late, drink wine, play games. Yes, that's fun. You eat well, or not, depending on the place. You know, I can stomach macrobiotic meals for a few days. So is that what I experienced attending 2 of our women's retreats? Well, yes and no. And I look back and think about what's the purpose of a retreat? And yes, it's focused time to feel, but feel what? It's to feel so I truly understand what my life is really like for me by listening to myself. Yes, it took attending the women's retreat for me to stop and witness me and what was going on for me. Because most of us, if you're like my life, I'm running on as fast as I can, and there is no time for reflection. There's no time to check in and go, wow, what's going on? Because in those moments, that's when we go, you know, I like this, I don't like that, maybe I need to change something. So let me explain. I went to the first retreat. It was in November. I raced over to another attendee's house after working all day so we could be in time to catch the ferry to Nanaimo. We were carpooling. And I had wondered about the merits of actually going because our 16-year-old cat had died that week. And maybe I wouldn't feel like connecting with anyone. We pulled up to the retreat center, and as I stepped out of the car, I was suddenly engulfed. The scent of the trees, the rain-soaked earth. Being out in the woods smells a lot different than Lower Lonsdale does. I went from distracted to present instantly with that smell. Solid, grounded, aware, eager. Inside the main building, familiar faces were scattered across the foyer. Everyone was in deep conversation, yet eyes met, conversations paused, all to greet us. Inclusiveness wrapped me in a warm embrace. I'm the kind of person that often has one foot in and one foot out of a group. I'm an introvert. I'm not always sure I fit in. And I sometimes wonder if I want to fit in at all. But in that moment, in the foyer, I felt both picked to be included, and I was very aware I had chosen to include myself. Belonging is a very powerful aphrodisiac. And for the first time in weeks, I started to feel again. And we all strutted off to dinner together. A sumptuous buffet was set out. The chefs had obviously gone to a lot of trouble. Yet, other than salad, there was nothing that I could eat. I didn't get a plate. Now, this is not a new experience for me. It happens. I've got diet issues. Yet I felt the weight of the awkwardness. Everyone else eating. I'm not. People are noticing. What do I do? So I stepped out of the dining room and hovered near the kitchen door. Had they forgotten that I'd requested a special meal? I was soon joined by another dining room exile. We stood united at the kitchen entrance, hoping someone would appear magically with food for us too. Then the facility director rushed by. She stopped. We explained, "Oh, the special meals are always left on the stove, in here." She ushered us into the kitchen. It was a line we had not been willing to cross ourselves. "Did no one tell you where to find them? You see, we put them in here so your meals don't get gobbled up and you have enough." We sighed, smiled, and rejoined our tribe in the dining room. Happy. That evening, we gathered in a large circle. Our fearless leader, Liz Moffitt, invited us to share something we had brought that had meaning for us. I paused. Okay, so we're going to spend several hours sitting in fold-up chairs while one by one, 35 of us talk about an object. My back started to ache. I could feel Charlie horses grab at my calves. We all looked at each other and a few eyebrows went up. Okay, I'm going to be polite, I'm going to listen, I would. And then the first woman spoke. It wasn't the object I was learning about. It was the woman revealing a whole world to me that I never knew existed. Like a movie playing out, every story vivid, moving, rich with insight. We all lived for several moments in each other's shoes, with the flesh of a romance, an excruciating sadness, a wild ride through an adventure none of us would ever have dreamed about. We saw cultural worlds and time frames in history alien to our own. We were right there, experiencing each moment that little object revealed. Each of us got to relive the events that formed a piece of who we are, revealing character, fortitude, bravery, intelligence, and wisdom. I was struck by how we are shaped by the choices we make and the experiences that drive us to those choices. Yet if we never sit in reflection, we don't know there are choices to make. We don't empower ourselves to do that. And hours flew by, and no one had hogged the platform. Everyone had the right amount of time. As the last person spoke, you could hear a pin drop. No wrestling in seats, no yawning, no, excuse me, it's past my bedtime. And then we had all spoken. We sat staring at each other, feeling the bonds that our stories had now given us. This is what belonging really feels like. We all agreed. And then it was time for wine and foot massages and pedicures and angel cards and painting and music and silliness. I hadn't laughed so hard in years. You know, women can be really funny when they feel heard. And me? I arrived at this retreat sad that I had lost my cat, but muscling along with my responsibilities and my commitments. And that weekend I allowed my grief about losing my little buddy, my little friend, to swamp me, to witness how truly wonderful she was in loving me, comforting me, and being there no matter what. She was a pet. But I found my gratefulness steeping myself in all that sadness. I'm sure I hogged an entire box of Kleenex all to myself. Yet no one said, "That's enough." No one said, "It was just a cat." No one said, "You know, you can get another one." No one said, "So what else is going on in your life?" What was so important about that weekend? Giving myself permission to know what matters to me. I didn't know what mattered until I chose to share it with everyone else. And I wasn't able or willing until I had a tribe of women who showed me how to do that. So the Women's Retreat, it's the place to discover what's important to you about you, so that what you value belongs to you.
Well, Lorraine, you're a hard act to follow, but it's really nice because I've got very little left to say. I'm Linda Vance, and I've been a member of this church for about 7 or 8 years, I expect, but a Unitarian since the 80s. And one of my favorite things with Unitarians is gathering in groups, large or small, and enjoying the common values that we have. It's what brings me back again and again. Unitarians are great to hang out with. laugh and cry with and party with. And I especially admire the many of you who try to walk your talk and do it so much better than I do. It's so inspiring. So anyway, this particular retreat, Kathryn Nicholson, Liz Moffitt, these are two women who combine music and soul, and then they proceed to share it widely and generously. So they created this entire weekend just for us. There are some do's and don'ts. Do pack. You should pack things that are built for comfort and not for speed. And don't clean, don't cook, don't worry about the kids or grandkids. They won't be able to call you up and say that Johnny just socked Susie, but it's okay because Charlie just dialed 911 just the way you talk. Don't get a copy of the schedule. Actually, do get a copy of the schedule, but everything's optional, but you won't want to miss a thing. There are moments that make you sing, moments that make you laugh, moments that might bring a tear to the eye, or far more. The 25 of us in a great large circle, each with our unique object. What I realized by the end of that sharing moment, or series of moments, looking at the world through each lens, was that I hardly knew these people. I thought I knew at least a little bit at all. I can't wait to learn more about each of whoever shows up the next time around. I'm a little worried we're going to have to get a coliseum by the time we talk about this. I know that the men are on retreat this weekend, and a lot of people kind of ask about the women's weekend. Well, what is it they do all weekend exactly? You think there's something nefarious going on. Well, and just how overwhelming is it to have that many Unitarian women gathered together for so long? In fact, it's exhilarating. It's relaxing, amazingly enough. I can't report on everything that went on Saturday night because I finally toddled off to bed exhausted while the great group was still chortling away as I late into the night. In terms of food, it's true that I consider anything I don't have to cook as haute cuisine. Yet others agreed with me that the food was phenomenal. There are a lot of decisions to make. You need to decide whether you're going to walk the meditation maze before dinner or at all, or stroll around the lake before breakfast or sleep in. It's entirely what you make of it. Finally, we left, having reconnected with another part of our own psyches and a little more to each other, even if it was just a first glance. I've spent a contemplative weekend through music, word, and deed, relaxing with a lot of wonderful people that I appreciate all the more. Thank you, Kathryn and Liz.
I didn't spend much time with other girls when I was a little girl. I was an only child and I spent a lot of time with my mother and a lot of time at home until I married very young and I was jettisoned into marriage and children, and I was hardly out of my own childhood. But it was only when I had small children that I realized how valuable and how safe and reassuring it was to sit and talk to other women about our shared experiences and worries. As my children grew and I grew into university and work, my community of women friends changed. I lost touch with that intimacy, and I had no time or energy to seek it out. I remained tight with my family, my growing and grown children, and my life with my new husband and his children, but that was my world. Now, last year, I went to the women's retreat for the first time. After years of holding on to life's challenges and sadness and celebrations and defeats by myself, I found myself
bound in the company of Unitarian women who were looking at life and love and joy through the lenses of spirituality and sharing. It was magic. And it was laughter, it was quiet and thoughtful, it was gentle, and a lot of the time it was just hysterical. I felt infused with energy, and I was calmed by the enormity of the courage and the experiences that I heard about. Now, I'm in danger of breaking out into platitudes, and I don't want to do that. I just believe that we carry, us women, carry millennia of experience and wisdom in ourselves. We carry survival skills and secrets of the heart. And a women's retreat gives us the opportunity to talk and to listen and to learn and share and tap into all that experience. So let me leave you with a very short poem. It's the perfect description of a women's retreat. Live with intention. Walk to the edge. Listen hard. Practice wellness. Play with abandon. Laugh. Choose with no regret. Appreciate your friends. Continue to learn. Do what you love. And live as if this is all there is.